Today, we'll dive into the story of King Arthur, the legendary hero, a symbol of chivalry and justice, yet also a figure whose reign began amid intrigue, bloodshed, and forbidden love. His era is shrouded in mystery, standing on the blurred line between history and myth. This retelling draws from ancient Celtic traditions, medieval sources such as Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the Kings of Britain, the knightly romances, and especially Thomas Malory's classic Les Morts d'Arthur. We'll explore who Arthur really was, and whether he existed at all, or if he is merely a composite figure born from centuries of storytelling. The story of King Arthur begins in the 5th century AD, during a time when the old world was rapidly collapsing. For nearly 4 centuries, Britain had been part of the mighty Roman Empire. The Romans brought civilization, roads, laws, and organized government. But Rome's glory was fading, and the empire could no longer defend its distant provinces. Eventually, Britain was abandoned to its fate. The last Roman legions left the island, leaving behind a land without law or order. Dozens of petty chieftains plunged into bloody wars for power. Cities fell into decay, roads became overgrown, and fields lay empty. A world that had seemed stable and eternal crumbled within a single generation. The native Britons, long accustomed to Roman protection, suddenly found themselves defenseless against new threats. Saxon and Angle tribes from the continent seized the opportunity, crossing the sea to claim land. Their leaders saw Britain as easy prey and launched relentless invasions. These raids were marked by extreme brutality, villages burned, entire families slaughtered, survivors enslaved or driven into flight. The country sank into a nightmare of terror and despair. In this dark hour, when hope was nearly extinguished, a prophecy emerged as a beacon of salvation for the people. Ancient Druids and Celtic wise men spoke of a hero destined to save Britain. They foretold that when darkness became unbearable, a king would rise to unite the fractured tribes, end the bloodshed, and repel the invaders.
This destined ruler would become legend, and that hero was Arthur. Yet his story began not with glory, but with deception and tragedy. Long before his birth, his father, Uther Pendragon, a powerful warlord chosen by the elders as the rightful king of Britain, became consumed by forbidden passion. Uther was a harsh, commanding man, accustomed to taking what he wanted by force. He fought constantly to hold his throne against Saxon pressure from the east, Pictish raids from the north, and frequent rebellions at home. One day, while attending a feast hosted by his ally Duke Gorlois of Cornwall, Uther laid eyes on the duke's wife, Igraine, a woman of breathtaking beauty and grace. He was instantly obsessed and demanded her love. Igraine proudly refused, remaining faithful to her husband. But rejection only fueled Uther's rage. Masking his lust as political grievance, he declared war on his former ally and besieged his stronghold. Desperate, Uther sought help from the great and enigmatic wizard Merlin, a being of immense magical power, whose aid always came at a steep price. Merlin agreed to assist, but only on one condition. The child born from this union must be given to him immediately after birth.
Blinded by desire, Uther accepted. On a moonlit night, Merlin cast a spell that transformed Uther's appearance to perfectly resemble Gorlois. Under cover of darkness, Uther entered Igraine's bedchamber and deceived her. That very night, Arthur was conceived. Tragically, the real Duke Gorlois died in battle the same night. When Igraine learned the truth, she was devastated, but eventually accepted her fate and married Uther. True to the bargain, Merlin appeared right after the birth and took the newborn infant away. Uther handed over his son with pain and regret. Igraine watched helplessly as her child vanished into the unknown. Merlin hid Arthur's true parentage to protect him from Uther's many enemies, who would surely kill the boy to eliminate a potential rival. The wizard decided the child would remain hidden until Britain's chaos reached its peak and the people were ready to accept a new king.
Meanwhile, Uther's health rapidly declined from endless wars, wounds, and strain. The king grew weaker, and the country desperately needed strong, just leadership. Arthur was secretly raised in a remote village by the humble knight Sir Ector, alongside Ector's own son Kay. He grew up completely unaware of his royal blood or the dark circumstances of his conception. When Uther finally died, Britain plunged into utter anarchy. Every baron and chieftain fought ruthlessly for the empty throne. In the midst of this chaos, a miracle appeared. In the center of London, before an ancient church, a stone embedded with a sword emerged. Golden letters on the sword declared that whoever could pull it free would be the rightful king of Britain. Merlin had secretly placed the sword there, knowing destiny was about to unfold. Barons, knights, and nobles tried and failed to draw it. Over time, people grew skeptical, dismissing it as a trick or sorcery. Arthur, then a youth, arrived in London with Kay for a tournament. When Kay realized he had forgotten his sword, Arthur rushed to find a replacement and spotted the sword in the stone. Without hesitation, he grasped the hilt and effortlessly pulled it free. No one believed him at first. The barons demanded he repeat the feat before witnesses. Again and again he succeeded, each time with ease. Only after 3 undeniable proofs did the people accept the miracle. Even then, acceptance came slowly. The common folk embraced him first, desperate for order. Some knights followed, seeing a divine sign. After long debate, the elders, clergy, and bishops formally proclaimed Arthur the legitimate king. But many powerful barons refused to bow to an unknown boy of no apparent lineage. They rebelled, forcing Arthur into immediate war to defend his crown. His early reign was soaked in blood as he fought rivals like King Lot, King Oriens, and others who sought to overthrow him. Arthur proved himself a brilliant warrior and a determined leader. Yet he soon realized that the sword in the stone was only a symbol. To truly unite Britain, he needed something greater. One misty day by a deep lake, a mysterious, radiant woman, the Lady of the Lake, emerged from the water and presented him with Excalibur, a sword of unmatched power and sharpness. She warned that this blade embodied his destiny, demanding great sacrifice in return for its strength. She also gave him a magical scabbard that protected him from fatal wounds while he wore it, a gift even more valuable than the sword itself. With Excalibur, Arthur consolidated his rule. He established his court at Camelot, an ancient fortress he transformed into the heart of a united Britain. In some versions, it was given as dowry when he married Guinevere, daughter of King Leodegrance. At the center of Camelot stood the Round Table, an idea inspired by Merlin to symbolize equality and brotherhood among knights. Every knight swore an oath to uphold justice, protect the weak, and serve honorably. Arthur's marriage to the beautiful, wise, and noble Guinevere was celebrated across the land, briefly filling Camelot with joy and promise. Yet Merlin sensed coming sorrow tied to this union. Among the first to join was Sir Lancelot of the Lake, the greatest swordsman of the age. He became Arthur's closest friend and most trusted knight, but Merlin foresaw that Lancelot would also bring pain. As Arthur fought off Saxon invasions with fierce determination, his victories grew legendary. In some tales, he even defeated Roman forces, cementing his reputation as Britain's savior. But with success came envy and hidden threats. Whispers of intrigue began to spread within Camelot's walls. The greatest tragedy unfolded in the queen's heart. Despite Arthur's love and the court's respect, Guinevere felt isolated in her royal role. She fell deeply in love with Lancelot, the perfect embodiment of knightly virtue. Lancelot, torn by passion and loyalty, could not resist. Their secret affair grew into stolen nights of passion and fear. Rumors spread, glances were noticed, and tension mounted. Arthur suspected, but loving both, remained silent, a silence that tormented everyone. The crisis deepened with the appearance of the Holy Grail, the sacred cup from Christ's Last Supper. It became a symbol of ultimate purity. Knights quested for it, but only the purest succeeded. Percival, Bors, and especially Galahad, Lancelot's son, who achieved the vision and saw Camelot's hidden corruption. Many knights, transformed by the experience, never returned. Some entered monasteries, others wandered. Camelot lost its finest defenders. Tragedy struck again when Merlin, entranced by his beautiful pupil Vivian, also called Nimue, taught her his secrets. She used his love against him, trapping him forever inside a tree or cave with her own magic.
Then came Mordred, born of Arthur's unwitting incest with his half-sister Morgan Le Fay, a powerful sorceress who hated Arthur and envied his glory. She orchestrated the union through enchantment, raising Mordred to believe the throne was rightfully his. Mordred exploited the Lancelot-Guinevere affair. He and his allies caught them together, sparking a bloody fight that shattered the Round Table's unity. Arthur, bound by law and duty, sentenced Guinevere to burn. Lancelot rescued her, killing many former comrades in the chaos. Civil war erupted. Arthur pursued Lancelot to France, leaving Mordred in charge. Mordred seized power, claiming the throne and even Guinevere. Arthur returned to confront his son/nephew at the Battle of Camelot. In the final clash, both were mortally wounded. Arthur slew Mordred, but received a fatal blow. As he lay dying, he ordered Excalibur returned to the Lady of the Lake. He was carried away to the mystical island of Avalon to heal, or to sleep until Britain needs him again. So ends the tale of King Arthur, a dream of unity and honor undone by human frailty, betrayal, and tragic love. As for his existence, most modern historians consider Arthur legendary rather than historical. While a 5th or 6th century British war leader who resisted Saxon invasions may have inspired the stories, no solid contemporary evidence confirms a king named Arthur with Camelot, the Round Table, or Excalibur. The legend grew over centuries, blending history, folklore, and medieval ideals of chivalry into one of the world's most enduring myths.